Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
To the Culturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw, and I'm joined by the owner of Serenade.com. He is now becoming a very frequent guest on the Culturecast. My friend and yours, Cullen Gallagher.
Howdy, thank you for having me back.
Anytime, and this is pretty much in your wheelhouse. We're talking Geena Davis movies in the '80s. Father Malone, the Booker Man, as one would call him if this were a wrestling ring, the Booker Man of this month, decided to do Geena Davis movies in the 80s for You've Never Seen September. However, joke's on Father Malone. I have seen Fletch before, and he didn't want to be on this podcast because he loves Fletch Lives so much he couldn't be objective. However, on this first episode for You've Never Seen September, we're taking a look at 1985's comedy classic, Fletch.
Oh, for God, Don.
What is this man saying?
Bueno, señor Duncan, friends signal.
What is this man doing?
What in the hell's the matter with you?
What is this man's name?
My name is Igor Stravinsky.
Hi there, I'm Harry S. Truman.
I'm Don Corleone.
They call him Fletch.
Fletch F. Fletch.
He's good at defending himself.
Better tie your shoelaces.
Oh!
Disguising himself. And getting himself into trouble.
Well, it be Fletch. Go ahead. Make my day.
He's a reporter
There are no tags on these mattresses.
who's about to write the story of a lifetime.
Will you kill me? Sure.
If he lives.
Thanks a lot.
There isn't a woman he can't charm.
Can I borrow your towel for a sec? My car just hit a water buffalo.
A question he won't ask.
You and your wife are currently alive, I take it?
Drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar.
A risk he won't take.
Probably feel 100% Moon River.
To get to the truth.
It looks like you two have a lot to talk over. We'll just catch the last 10 minutes of Dynasty.
Universal Pictures presents Chevy Chase as Fletch.
My hero.
Welcome to it.
So Fletch is directed by Michael Ritchie. It is based on the book written by Gregory Mcdonald of the same name. It stars everyone's favorite smart-ass, wise-ass Chevy Chase. Also stars Jodan Baker, Dana Wheeler-Nicholson, and one of my favorite character actors, Tim Matheson. Film stars Chevy Chase as the titular Fletch, a investigative journalist who has a penchant for disguises, who is propositioned by a wealthy businessman to kill him, and he has a week to find out why he's killing him. We're going to be talking spoilers. If you've never seen this movie before, turn this off, watch it. It's actually one of my favorite movies, which is kind of why I don't know what we're going to be talking about here, but I am glad to have someone who is well-versed in pulp fiction, not the movie, the actual style of writing. Cullen, what did you think? Because I know this is your first time watching it, because we had talked about it initially. What did you think of your first viewing of Fletch?
Oh, it is fabulous. And my 5-year-old self that grew up watching Caddyshack and National Lampoon's Family Vacation and all other Chevy Chase movies is really, really disappointed in myself for waiting until I was 35 to see this movie.
I remember, so to give you an idea of when I saw it, the time I saw it, we watched it on do you remember DivX? Do you remember that?
The format?
Yeah, so DivX was like this skate, you know what I'm talking about. So for those of you who don't know what DivX is, it was kind of, you know how there's always kind of that talk of like Betamax or VHS, Blu-ray or HD DVD. At the time, it was DVD or DivX. So DivX was you bought the physical disc and you could watch it one time. And then any more times you wanted to watch it, you would have to, I think you could either pay money to watch it again, or you could just buy the rights to watch it whenever you wanted. So you were essentially purchasing it a second time, and they were extremely cheap initially, I think. I mean, at least they were extremely cheap once everybody essentially went to DVD as the gold standard. But I remember watching this on DivX.
I totally did not think that's what you mean by DivX. I thought DivX was like MP4 or AVI format. So I had never heard of this medium you're talking about, and I am fascinated. It
is one of the crazier formats that kind of came and went. What's really weird about it is this idea that you would be sold a product that you then had to pay for again to watch. So it was super weird.
It's like Mission Impossible. It's going to self-destruct after you watch it once.
Kind of. That's kind of what it felt like. And it's super weird because it's just this idea that, you know, you're buying a disc and you don't get to watch it as many times as you want unless you pay for it. So that was available from 1998 to 1999 to give you some kind of frame of reference to when I saw this movie. So when I saw this movie, it was a very formative age. I was either 8 or 9, and I remember seeing it and thinking, this is one of the greatest movies ever made. I actually, for those of you that don't know, I actually went to journalism school at the University of Missouri out of high school, partially, I would say 50-50 from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, the book, and the other 50% was Chevy Chase as Fletch. Because at the time, I hadn't even read the books. I had only ever seen the movie. But needless to say, my entirely long-winded response aside, this is one of my favorite movies. I can quote the movie for days. There are so many quotes that my family still says that we quote to one another. I mean, it's endlessly quotable because, like you've already mentioned, Cullen, it's Chevy Chase. I mean, I don't think there was anyone who had a better comedy career in the 80s than Chevy Chase.
That's an interesting question. I'm going to have to put that on the back burner and think about it.
I mean,
I fucking loved him growing up.
Right. I mean, the vacation movies alone are a big deal, but then you have, like you mentioned, Caddyshack in the 80s, Fletch in 85. You've got Spies Like Us, Three Amigos.
Oh my God.
Funny Farm. I mean, you've got, a lot of movies. And again, Chevy Chase, obviously, there's no way we can't address this. Chevy Chase is, apparently, I've never met him. I would assume, Cullen, you've never met him either. He's supposedly a kind of a pain, unfortunately.
There was an interview with him a few years ago. Oh my goodness!
Was it the print interview where he addressed him like him being an asshole?
Yeah, and he kind of was like, yeah,
I kind of was.
No argument. Yeah, or / is.
Yeah.
I don't think there seemed to be any sort of disagreement from him about his personality.
Yeah, and I'm like, there, to be perfectly honest with you, because, we actually talked about someone notoriously difficult, and I feel like we can't get around mentioning Seagal at this point, but this has been the year where we've talked more about, I wouldn't say prima donnas, but people that have a reputation in the industry for being notoriously hard to work with. Obviously, no one has leveled sexual assault charges against Chevy Chase like they have against Seagal, and Chevy Chase has done some things that are reprehensible. I mean, he got into a massive fight with Bill Murray on the set of Saturday Night Live. He walked out on Community. He's done a lot of stuff. I mean, again, Community happened in the last decade, so that's pretty contemporary proof of kind of who he is. But, I mean, again...
Has he been gifted any honorary fruit and vegetables like Seagal?
From Belarus? No, he has not. So he's got that going for him, which is nice. Chevy Chase is not a surrogate Putin, so no. But apparently Chevy Chase made racist comments towards Donald Glover. Not a good look for Chevy Chase. But all of that out of the way, because again, there's no way we couldn't at least mention it, even if it's offhand. I love Fletch. I love the movie. I love the movie to death. It's absolutely one of my favorite movies.
It is delightful. It moves very quickly. It doesn't let up for a second. There's always something funny happening. Sometimes they're, very big, bold comedic moments. Sometimes it's super understated and if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss the dialogue 'cause it's almost under his breath. There's always something happening. It's a very entertaining movie, and having seen it just twice the past week, I can see it being something that's, endlessly rewatchable.
Well, and again, I mean, this is kind of the benefit of having you on for this episode, Cullen. This is kind of a nice meshing of the two, because your website talks about pulp novels and pulp detective novels, and you and I mean, you read the book and I've read the book. You read the book for this podcast specifically. I ended up actually listening to the book last year when they kind of all finally migrated to Audible, and I've since downloaded all of them. But I had never read the book until literally a year ago, and the book and the movie are vastly different in a lot of ways. They're very similar in others, but you messaged this to me off podcast, and I
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
I did want to bring it up because you're completely right. They did kind of sanitize the book, because there's a lot of stuff in the book that's a little not great. It's not. It's interesting. It's pulp, but it's not great for a comedy like this film ended up being.
I mean, so the book, I think, came out, was it 74?
Yeah.
By Gregory Mcdonald. And I just, in terms of style, I was floored, sorry for the cliche, by that novel. Like, his stylistic approach is just so lean. If listeners that haven't read it, it is just nothing but dialogue, and there is occasionally only a few times in the book, I think, where they really even like briefly goes into what's in Fletch's head. It just takes that sort of like classic hard-boiled, style and just pares it down to the very minimum. To me, it was almost like experimental prose.
And that style continues through all of the novels, but that style could not and does not translate to the film. So much so that in the first 5 minutes of the film, you have, first minute of the film, actually, it's the opening part of the film, there's narration, which, like you mentioned, you don't really get any of that in the book. You never get what's going on inside of Fletch's head. And it works in the film, but that's also because it's Chevy Chase doing the pithy, talking to the audience, I'm smarter than everybody else thing.
And it's also Andrew Bergman. And I don't know if you're familiar with his other stuff at all.
Well, Blazing Saddles.
Well, yeah, but before so Blazing Saddles is big. Before that, his grad school thesis was called "We're in the Money: A History of Hollywood During the Great Depression," which is just a fabulous history book, and it's still in print today. Like how many film history books have remained in print through multiple printings for 50 years?
Especially when there was a dissertation.
Yeah, it's incredibly well written, and that guy just knows, hard-boiled lingo, that screwball pacing. Even though a lot of private detective films and film noir really get start taking off in the 40s and 50s, you can start to hear that style of dialogue in Jimmy Cagney from the early 30s, Little Caesar with Edward G. Robinson, that's 31, I want to say. And so, yeah, I think that's something that Andrew Bergman really brings to this film. The dialogue that he was able to, create using sort of the personality of Fletch from the novel, turning it into something for the screen. He did a magnificent job.
And also, again, to your point about Andrew Bergman, he is widely considered to be, and New York Magazine called him in '85, the unknown king of comedy, because like you said, he clearly understands how to write dialogue. And I'm not going to downplay his ability to tell an interesting story, because that's not what I'm saying, but when people think of Fletch, they don't think of the events of the movie, they think of the dialogue. And they think of the rapid fire, Chevy Chase doesn't let the other person's words get out of their mouth before he says something. It's right at the moment, and he knows how to hit it every time.
And it's smart. The book, there's actually a lot more in terms of investigation, and to anyone who hasn't seen the movie or read the book, the basic plot structure is the same in the book and the movie, which is Fletch is a reporter, he's undercover, he's posing as a junkie on the beach because he wants to bring down a drug ring. Someone, unrelatedly hires him to, kill him. So Fletch is sort of doing these dual investigations at the same time.
But little does he know, they're connected.
Dun-dun.
Yeah, which is I
did the wrong theme. Dun dun dun.
Right. I mean, it's that kind of smacks of noir to me. That's the noir bit. Because, the film, the first one, we'll talk a little bit about Fletch Lives, but the first one, I think, they classified on Wikipedia as neo-noir. It's neo-noir light. Noir to me doesn't necessarily have a lot of the things that this film has, but the book is more noir than the movie is, but I think the sanitization of the book pulled some of that noir out of it, because the book, the character of Fletch in the book is similar to the character of Fletch in the film, but the character of Fletch in the film is more tailored to who Chevy Chase is than tailoring it to who the book character is.
Yes, and to anyone that hasn't read the book, Fletch in the book, part of his, charade, when he's undercover, he's shacking up with a 15-year-old girl who's addicted to heroin and is turned to prostitution in order to get money for the drugs. That's not... They don't even touch that at all in the movie, and it's that aspect of his character is just gone. in the movie. They make him a pretty nice guy.
I mean, he's the kind of guy you'd want to have a beer or two with.
Yeah.
The character in the book it's a little different. The character in the book, especially in the first book, and he changes a little bit kind of as the series goes on, but in that first book, I'm not going to say he's reprehensible, but he does some things in the in the name of the story that I don't think characters in the movie the audience could get behind. I think they'd have a harder time getting behind that character.
So what's interesting to me about that book is that at one point Burt Reynolds was supposed to play Fletch.
Oh, and at one point they also had Jeff Bridges, Charles Grodin, Barry Bostwick, and even George Segal,
and Mick Jagger.
And Richard Dreyfuss. The people that they wanted to cast is almost as exciting as the fact that it took them like almost 40 years to bring the reboot back, and they've had almost as many people almost cast as Fletch in that time as well.
Of those original people, I only knew about Burt and Mick. I think Burt Reynolds could have done the book version very well.
Yes, I agree.
Because I think, if you see, he's really charming and stuff, Smokey and the Bandit. But, in like Sharky's Machine, he can be a little gritty, he can be a little dark. I think he could have done that. But to get back to the movie, which is what we're talking about on the podcast, there's an interview with Gregory Mcdonald where even he said that if they had made the movie that he would have wanted, it wouldn't have been popular.
No,
which I think was sort of his, I think that was sort of his acknowledgement that they did the right thing. Also, I'm sure this made him a hell of a lot of money, so he's not going to be upset about that. The other interesting thing when you're talking about how tailored this is to Chevy Chase, I had read that Birdman, and he didn't really get along too well. Michael Ritchie allowed Chevy Chase to improvise. Chevy Chase has claimed that he wrote the script.
Well, this was Birdman right after Chevy Chase had gotten off of his, had kind of cleared up his drug habit. So they brought Michael Ritchie in to kind of keep Chevy Chase in line. So Chevy Chase can say whatever he wants. As far as I'm concerned, we know what the truth is. Chevy Chase was after a bender, pretty much, like a real bad bender.
Yeah, and this is a great comeback film. And there's the very end of the script. It even says like the closing monologue isn't written in the version of the script that I read. It just says character will, ad-lib as Chevy Chase does. So it seems that the script was written knowing that he's going to do this.
Right.
And there's a bunch of iconic lines that are verbatim in the script. And there's a bunch of stuff that's, he sort of riffs on and rearranges. And there's a bunch of stuff that he totally added. Or at least that maybe would have been added in a version of the script that I wasn't able to read.
Right. Which is the same version that I read.
So yeah, I think it's fair to say, like, Chevy Chase, it looks like he did add some stuff. In addition to just bringing the character to life. And I do think Andrew Bergman is right that the foundation is there. A lot of the key lines are there. A lot of the key jokes are there.
And the funny thing is, if you think about Chevy at the time, Chevy Chase at the time is, again, we kind of talked about he had this drug habit, and then he comes back and makes this film. You think about Chevy Chase, SNL Chevy Chase. That's what Fletch's character is more tailored to, is SNL Chevy Chase, and that persona that he had on there, because National Lampoon's Vacation Chevy Chase is the bumbling moron. I mean, Clark Griswold is never played as smart as Fletch is. He's never played as sharp-witted as Fletch is. He has outbursts. I mean, the outburst in Christmas Vacation is one of my favorite Chevy Chase on-screen moments of all time, when he kind of goes off on this tangent about, the Jelly of the Month Club. But the character in Fletch is very much dialed back to his SNL days, which are, 75. That, 70, it was in 75 when he started on SNL. So there's like a decade. They're going back a decade to give him a character that's more in line with his ad-libbing, television, comedy sketch scene version of himself, other than the, National Lampoon's Vacation version, which changed the way he was perceived. I mean, you had him in Caddyshack essentially doing a riff on Fletch. I mean, Ty Webb is similar to Fletch in a lot of ways. They're different also, but that the DNA of that character is there in some of Chase's earlier roles.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
No, I mean, you're totally right. And I don't know, yeah, this to me, now that I've seen this feels the most Chevy Chase.
Right. You know, it's like, when I think of Chevy Chase, this is what I think of, and pretty much nothing else. Because, like, the character of Clark Griswold in Vacation doesn't feel like Chevy Chase. That feels like that's that character. And Chase plays that character really well. I mean, he's believable as Clark Griswold. The kind of the do-gooder husband who has that little bit of fire beneath him that you see sometimes in those movies when he kind of flips out. But, yeah, when I think of Chevy Chase and, like, the performance of his that I could point to and be like, that's who he is, it's this movie. Without a question. And it would have nothing to do with the fact that I like this movie. This is the role I point to because this is who I personally believe to be is close to who Chevy Chase is as a human being, and it's closer to the comedy styling that he clearly feels the most comfortable inside.
I kind of want to go back to, it seems like old times again, because I think it has some of the same sort of dry, old Hollywood humor that he kind of brings out in Fletch as well. Even though totally different types of stories, that's Neil Simon screwball comedy with Goldie Hawn and Charles Grodin.
And see, I've never seen that movie, so maybe I should.
I remember liking that quite a bit. I went back recently and wasn't. I don't know. I should go back. Even though the last time I wasn't crazy about rewatching it, there is something I kind of love about the movie. There are so many great moments. Forget what I said. It's a fabulous movie. You know how sometimes you see a movie you love and then you see it 4 or 5 times and then it's not. You don't love it as much the 5th time, but then you kind of feel bad that you didn't love it the 5th time. Sure. That's kind of how I feel.
Well, at least we're not talking about Oh Heavenly Dog, the movie where he turns into a dog. Ooh.
I'm unaware of this movie's existence.
Well, it's a movie where Chevy Chase turns into Benji. So, and Omar Sharif is in it.
I'm not going to rule that out.
you might actually you might find it interesting. It's kind of just a weird. It's just kind of a weird movie to have Chevy Chase in.
That can be good sometimes.
Yeah,
I still really want to see that Chris Christopherson dog movie, Best Friend in Heaven.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh my goodness, it's like I think it's a Canadian film by like a Christian film company. Basically, this man and woman are about to get married. The dog gets hit by a car. Chris Christopherson voices the dog. The dog's in heaven and looks down and then sees that the couple broke up because of the death of the dog. And so he comes back to Earth and only the fiance, the man, the husband, should-be husband, can see him. And he's determined to get them back together.
Wow.
I remember the trailer was online and people on the internet were saying the trailer for the worst movie of the year has just come out. And I'm like, this movie looks fucking ridiculous. Christopherson's probably high off his ass sitting in Hawaii doing this voiceover. He's a dog. How is this going to be bad?
Have you seen Shaggy Dog with Tim Allen? And Robert Downey Jr. plays the villain. This film was made in like 2006.
You should just have a dog movie month.
But dogs that were humans. Like anthropomorphic animal month, but the anthropomorphic animals were once human.
And I don't think the Christopherson movie would count.
Oh my god! I like the idea that there is this like through line of the last 50, 60 years of these movies being made where actors keep turning into dogs, and all of these movies are just insane, and people just look at them and just like, what the hell is going on?
Someone keeps throwing money at him.
Hey, good for them, right? So let's talk about Geena Davis and Fletch, because again, this is ostensibly Geena Davis month, but Geena Davis.
I wanted more of her.
I mean, she doesn't have much to do, but she does a lot with what she is given.
Oh, she's fabulous. When you meet her on the floor of the newspaper office and she's running around, yeah, it's a great personality. It's one of those, early roles where you see someone and it's like, okay, they got something.
Yeah, and she's fantastic opposite Chevy Chase because you never see her outside of the newsroom, which for me is a shame because you and I both just watched this movie twice in 24 hours, which is great. I probably could watch this movie every day and not get bored of it. But what I noticed this time, the second time I watched the movie in 24 hours, I really was disappointed that Chevy Chase's character ends up with Gail Stanwyck at the end. Because
totally, I agree.
Because you want him to end up with Larry. Like, I did. I wanted him to end up with her because clearly, like, it's not a Miss Moneypenny and James Bond relationship. It's different than that. Because, like, clearly the way that they talk about one another in the movie, they're clearly together. Not boyfriend, girlfriend, but there's clearly sexual attraction between the two of them. And it doesn't feel as much a put upon by the plot as Gail Stanwyck's character does in the film and her relationship with Chevy Chase.
But there's also a real professional relationship between the two of them. I don't know. I liked the two of them. They seemed like genuine buddies. They seemed to be compatible. He respects her, unlike most anyone else in the movie. He seems to have absolutely like very low opinion of.
Yeah.
Is she the only person in the movie that he doesn't try to dupe? Is she the only person that he's honest to?
I think so.
Yeah, like everybody else, he's lying and making fun of and like doing things to humiliate them. But he treats her, like an equal.
Yeah, which is, again, to your point, I mean, in a movie where the main character is essentially throwing jabs at every single person he can, including, I mean, again, he throws jabs at the character he ends up walking away at the end of the film with. The final monologue of the movie is he essentially says, well, to her, I'm the most, I'm the bravest man in the world. And she's right. And it's like, okay, like, I don't know. That's like, it's a bittersweet ending to the movie because, she doesn't end up returning in the second film. And that makes sense, kind of. They don't address it, but it makes sense because the second film doesn't take place anywhere near Los Angeles for the most part. So it feels like a missed opportunity.
I wonder, because I know Andrew Bergman did write he wrote a sequel to this based off of the second book, which I haven't read, and that was rejected by the studio, who decided to go with Fletch Lives instead, and then there was a writer's strike. So who knows if Fletch Lives was actually ever really finished in terms of the writing? They certainly finished it enough to film, but by the end of that movie, it doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense. But it's fabulous. It doesn't need to make sense.
Well, Fletch Lives has its own problems. I would equate, as far as I'm concerned, Fletch Lives, I would equate it similarly to Ghostbusters 2. Yes, it is a lesser film, but you get to see more of the characters you love. So you take the good with the bad, and also, the second film has Cleavon fucking Little in it, and it's one of the few things that Cleavon Little did mainstream of note other than Blazing Saddles, which is what he's known for. So it was nice to see them interplay. But I mean, again, the character of Larry in the first film is one of, if not the best, secondary character that, you wish you had seen more of her, but you're okay with the amount that she is on screen because that means you just get more Chevy Chase instead.
More Geena Davis is always a good idea in a movie.
But at the end of the day, the movie, I think the movie does a lot with Chevy Chase because, again, you have a crime thriller noir movie with the kind of veneer on top of Chevy Chase in essentially every other scene in the movie. He's in some crazy getup doing some wacky thing. And again, that is in the book.
13 costume changes, I think I read.
I think something like that, yeah. In the book, it's there in the book, but it's not as over the top. It's more subdued, and that works in what the kind of the reference frame. The frame of reference for the book is very different than the movie. Like we've already mentioned, the book is a little bit more self-serious, so you couldn't have him doing the kind of obscene things that he does, where he's dressing up as a Hindu priest or like a drifting priest towards the end of the movie. And there are identities that you can see on the poster that you never even see in the movie. So there was stuff cut from the film.
I mean, in the book, the whole conceit is that he's not supposed to leave the beach, because if he leaves the beach, they're going to realize he's not a junkie. And so he really has to stay in character. Whereas, and in I think the one time he does leave to go back to the office, they're like, did anybody see you get in the car? And of course that comes back to haunt him because somebody did see him get in the car. And that's just, they do away with that in the movie completely. And I think it makes sense. Like, Bergman streamlined the story and the plot, and in a movie that's 90 minutes, like, that's what you gotta do.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, like we've already said, leaving out the part about the underage sex, I think works perfectly fine in the movie's benefit because, again, I don't need to see that any more than anyone else does in a movie where we're supposed to like the protagonist, not kind of find them reprehensible. And, again, like you said, stuff is trimmed down enough. I mean, there's not a whole lot of plot holes. I mean, there are some, but again, we're not cinema sins. We're not going to sit here and...
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Poke our fingers through each fucking plot hole like we're the smartest guys in the fucking world.
What's cinema sins?
Oh, God. Cinema sins are these dickheads on YouTube who make these videos as like everything wrong with Avengers Endgame in 10 minutes. And it's just like them being just like bullshit, nitpicky nonsense. And any self-respecting cinema fan probably finds cinema sins as obnoxious as I do.
If someone likes that, let him. That's not the way that I watch movies. When I get into a movie, I get into it and I get into the world. And Fletch is one of those movies that, from the beginning when he's on the beach, in that Lakers jersey, I'm just like, I'm in.
It really starts noir. Like, the film opens very noir-esque. You have the main character being approached by someone to do a task, and then the rest of the film is that character finding out more about that main character. And they don't meet up again. Tim Matheson is not in this movie a whole lot. He's in this movie very little.
But God, those scenes that he's in, he is perfect. The casting in this movie in general, so many great people. So many.
Oh, yeah. You've got character actors like George Wendt, Emmett Walsh.
God. Yeah, he's the drug dealer on the beach.
Right. And again, he looks like George Wendt, but he's also playing very against character. He's playing a beach drug dealer. Richard Libertini is great as Frank, the kind of head of the newsroom, and his kind of back and forth interplay with Fletch, I think, is probably my favorite in the entire film. And then, good. Tim Matheson's great. Joe Don Baker as the police chief. Holy shit. Great.
I was so thrilled Kenneth Mars shows up as Stanton Boyd.
What kind of a name is Poon? Comanche Indian. Kenneth Mars brings that stoicism to the character that it needs to play off of Fletch.
Have you seen What's Up, Doc?
I have not.
Oh my goodness, you have to see it. It's Bogdanovich's sort of reworking of Bringing a Baby with Barbara Streisand, Ryan O'Neal, Austin Pendleton, Madeline Kahn, and Kenneth Mars plays the evil musicologist who's out to foil Ryan O'Neal.
Kenneth Mars, I've seen him in Fletch, and I saw him in an episode of Twilight Zone 1985, and the difference between those two characters is really stark, but at the same time, even for as little as he's given in this movie, which is one scene with Chevy Chase, he's fantastic as this standoffish CEO of an airline company that doesn't want to be hassled by government interference. And again, there's every character actor who's given a scene with Chevy Chase, as far as I'm concerned, does a great job of playing off of Chevy Chase and giving him a chance to play off of them.
And Emmett Walsh is the doctor. Do you have to use your whole fist? Emmett
Walsh, as far as I'm concerned, great character actor. He's been in, so many things, so many amazing things. Whenever I think of Emmett Walsh, this is what I think of. I think of this movie. I think of, Moon River. I don't have any, children? No, elephant books. It's that, the thing about the Fletch character that has made me love the character so much, and it's made me not emulate the character in a way, but there are personality traits that I share with the character, is never taking someone's bullshit lying down. And that is so apparent with the character.
I agree. And to go back to what you were saying a moment ago about how these character actors just, short scenes, but they're so memorable. To me, that just goes back to those Warner Brothers, movies from the 30s that Bergman was writing about. That's why I think that's something he brings. Warner Brothers just had that, those stock companies of these amazing faces and voices. And they would only be on screen for 15, maybe 30 seconds. Maybe they'd get a whole 2 minutes. But it would be the best part of the movie. And I think he brought that sort of attitude to this when he was writing these characters. Because that dialogue that you were quoting from memory, that's all in the script.
Yeah, it is.
These are really, really well constructed and written dialogues between characters.
And the funny thing is, so I had never read the script until today. Because again, I had never really gone out of my way to read the script, because again, I just read the book instead. Like you mentioned already, reading the script, I was really shocked by how many moments that I kind of assumed were ad-libbed were, like you said, completely in the script. 100%. You do have some of Chevy Chase's kind of witty one-liners, like early on when Stanwyck is talking to his maid and he says something to her, Buenos dias, and she's Buenos dias, and then he goes, Pup and taco. That's not in the script, but that's that's a Fletchism that's just Chevy Chase riffing.
And the whole, the line, like, I'll have a Bloody Mary and a steak sandwich. That's in the script, but the second, and a steak sandwich, that's something he ad-libbed. And, like, that's a brilliant little addition from Chevy Chase, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, that's the benefit that casting Chevy Chase has in this role versus someone like a Jeff Bridges or a Charles Grodin or a Barry Bostwick. While I think they could have brought something interesting, each of them, and different to the role, I mean, if you had Jeff Bridges in this role, who knows, it may have been like a very, interesting, different film, closer in tone to the book. Giving Chevy Chase the role meant you're gonna get that little extra turn of the dial with the comedy that Chevy Chase inherently brings because, again, he does have that, live comedy, SNL, stand-up background. And that's the thing.
Strangers in my pants.
Exactly. I mean, stuff like that. I mean, it's stuff like that.
Stupid,
That's like,
but it's great.
Yeah, but that is what makes me love the movie over something like Vacation. I mean, Vacation has those moments, but it's this one guy against the world, and he knows he's the only one, and he's the only one against the world, and the world is seemingly out to get him as well, to the point where he's almost murdered several times. And he is just so nonchalant about it. And then you get the sequel.
Is this when we move on to Fletch Lives?
I don't know. I mean, we could talk a little bit about Fletch Lives. I'm curious what you thought about Fletch Lives, because like you'd already mentioned, it's a wholly original idea.
Oh, I thought it was fun. Like, it's utterly kind of like a madcap mess in terms of, like, once the plot gets going, it's like, what the heck's going on? But so many great people. Hal Holbrook, Arlie Ermey, Cleavon Little you mentioned. Jeffrey Lewis shows up as the Ku Klux Klan leader in one scene.
Richard Belzer is in the movie.
Phil Hardman. It's silly. The story is definitely not as good.
Well, and it's not as serious either. It's much lighter, and I credit a lot of that to the change of scenery. I mean, the beginning of the movie is very much Fletch 1. Like the beginning scene where he's in the Greek seafood house, and that whole interaction strikes very much of the first movie.
But it's even that, though, is like, he's in the bathroom, he's dressed up as a female maid. Yeah, and then like an old, aging, octogenarian gangster comes in and wants to bone him. And he's like, oh, can I wash my hands? And the guy's like, oh, whatever's going to get you in the mood. Something like, even that level of farce is not in the first Fletch movie.
No. Yeah, it is very different because, again, in the first movie, you see him in these kind of funny but believable outfits. And then in this movie, it's like, who is going to believe that that's a female character? A 6'5" dude in a poorly colored wig? Like, come on. Like he
doesn't even disguise his voice.
Yeah, exactly. And the other outfits in the original movie were believable. Like he's using them for a specific reason. Here it's like he could have been a waiter or a chef or anything. And no, it's like he's dressed up in drag. And again, it's nothing against drag. It has to do with the fact that by the rules defined in this universe, that makes no sense. Like it's just weird.
I'm curious because I know I was reading that there was a writer's strike around the production of this movie. Like, how much of stuff would have been ironed out, with another draft? Maybe not. But, it's Michael Ritchie returning, and I love Michael Ritchie. We haven't spent much time talking about him, but, what a filmography that dude has. Downhill Racer, Prime Cut, Candidate, Bad News Bears, Semi-Tough. That's just a handful of movies. Like, this guy made a ton.
The Golden Child.
I need to go back and see that. I haven't seen that in 30 years or something.
As much as I like Fletch Lives, I really do, like you said, I wonder what it would have been like if it had been given a pass or two, a finer tooth comb, or even if they had gone to one of the books. I mean, it's not like there aren't books to draw from. There's 8 books. I've never understood why they went with an original idea. It almost feels like, and I noticed this watching the second one, it feels like they were trying to build Fletch up as like a James Bond-esque character. He like walks away with the girl at the end of the movie, and then in the second movie he's, back at his old bullshit again. And, Gail Stanwyck is nowhere to be seen, and they never make mention of the money or anything. And it's like, where did all that go? Like, you're not going to mention it at all?
It's almost as if the first movie doesn't exist.
Exactly. This is very much standalone. They never mention the first movie at all, except for the very wry callback. I don't know if you've noticed it, but they call back to the music from the first movie in a quote that Fletch says to Hal Holbrook when they're getting into the car after he bails him out of jail. He says, "What's your suggestion? Should I get out of town before sundown?" Which is literally a line from the first movie's music. Oh my goodness. It's super weird. It's like a weird referential line to something that, like, how could you know this if you're a character in the movie that the music is playing in?
Man, that just makes me think of that scene with Jodan Baker. And when he says that to him and, like, kind of, like, takes him in the back and puts him in the slammer, Jodan Baker played that role of the police chief so well because he played it seriously. Like, he's not trying to, he's not playing anything for laughs in the first Fletch.
No, he's going to straight up murder Fletch in the police, in the cells in the back and make it look like Fletch attacked him. He's not kidding.
I'm just having, like, Fletch 1 and 2 just in my mind are coming together.
Which is odd considering how one of them is set in the swamps.
That is true.
Do you like the setting of the second film?
Down in Louisiana?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, he's inheriting a plantation.
The optics of that aren't great,
I mean,
but...
No. But, like, that's where it's... I mean, you could have him inheriting a mansion in, like, another part of the country.
I think, I think it would have been interesting to see Fletch in New York or somewhere else. Because, I mean, in the second book, I think you see Fletch in either Washington, D.C. or Boston in Confess Fletch, which is a great book in and of its own right. I actually like it a lot, and it's similar to Fletch, but different enough. But, as much as I like the second film, it feels more toned down comedy-wise. It feels more PG than the first film. Does that make sense? It feels even more sanitized than the first film was. If we're talking about the second film and how close it is to the source material, it feels even farther away from the source material than the first one.
You know what I wonder? I wonder if this was... Because this really feels like a non-Fletch movie that someone just put Fletch's character in. I wonder if the people that wrote this originally had this as a screenplay with a different lead character, and it's like, what if we just take that dude from Fletch and put him in here?
Sounds kind of like Under Siege 2. It just sounds... I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, because like you said, it doesn't... Like, what does it being Fletch bring to the script, right?
Nothing. I mean, it's just... It's another adventure for him, but it's a different universe. There aren't really any stakes.
None. Like, that's the other thing about the movie is... In the first film, there's like a rolling deadline. He's got a week. In this movie, there's none of that. It's someone's trying to kill him. Who could it be? And that's the mystery. And so it puts him at the center of his own mystery, as opposed to in the original Fletch, where he's not the focus of the mystery. Because he's thrust into it immediately, and Fletch lives. He goes to Louisiana. He goes to inherit this plantation like we talked about, and his lawyer, who he sleeps with, dies the next day, and he's trying to clear his name, and things start happening to him. In the first Fletch, everything's happening around him, and he's the audience to that. In this, he's very much the participant, and he's the one who things are happening to. And I don't think the character works that well as that kind of character.
That is also just a classic private eye, noir trope. You wake up and the person in bed is dead next to you.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure.
So they're reaching for some of the same like touchstones, but the story just isn't there. But the characters, like the characters are there. They're like, maybe it's what the actors bring to the role. Because
Arlie Ermey's amazing.
Oh yeah, the sort of he's the TV preacher.
Yeah, what's the guy's name?
Jimmy B. Farnsworth.
They're making fun of like Tammy Faye Baker and all those like yo-yos of the 80s. But like, and it's like, it's pitch perfect. I mean, Arlie Ermey he's not cast as the normal type of character either, which is super funny. Like this character is not what I assume Arlie Ermey is going to be acting as in a film.
No, but he's so convincing and just, he's funny as hell, confess your sins, you are forgiven, and then pushing them away. Like, he's great. He owns that role. He's just so good. He can do no wrong.
And this is 2 years removed from Full Metal Jacket too, which is the funny part. Like, that's like when you think of him in Full Metal Jacket, and then 2 years later he's playing a Bible thumping televangelist. Like, talk about far removed from the role that made you famous, and a role that again he would essentially be typecast as that character and like similar military characters. So this is like a really weird, different role that I think you're right. I think similarly to Fletch, even if Fletch's plot didn't land, I still think people would regard it as a comedy classic because of Chevy Chase's ad-libbing and the smart dialogue by Andrew Bergman. And this film, it's propped up by Chevy Chase and kind of the goodwill that he provided and kind of established in the first film. And that carries you through this film. I mean, it carries you through another hour and a half. But I don't think if they had made a third one, I don't think it would have carried him through a third one. I think a third one would have been a massive failure if they had expected, we don't have to make a script tailored to the character, we just have to make a script and then shoehorn the character in. I don't think it would have carried through to a third film.
No, you would have needed to really hire an actual writer. Get a real script together. To go back to the cast, though, of the second one, Hal Holbrook, he's always good. Like, he plays
the scenery.
Yeah, and he plays that character like as serious as he would any role. I mean, even when he's doing comedy, he's serious. He's in character, and it's just like, watching it again today. I'm just like, man, he's just, it doesn't matter what the movie is, he just gives it his all, and it's just so wonderful seeing him, play the lawyer, and even from the beginning, you don't fully trust him.
Right.
But he plays it so well. I don't know. I love him, and I think he helps keep the movie together too, because I'm sure that guy knows that the script was a mess.
I would assume so. I mean, it feels like everybody is doing their best to like defuse a shitty script. Like, it really feels like it.
Even the ending when Chevy Chase is like breaking his the portrait of his mother, and then, tossing her ashes around. It's the most ridiculous kind of dumb scene, but Hal Holbrook, he gets into it. He makes it work. Like, you really feel that his character is, like, so attached to this mother character that you knew nothing about, never met.
But they bring her up every time he's on screen. Like, every time
That's true.
You see but to your point, like, you never meet the character, but that is clearly his character's motivation, is like keeping his mother's memory alive and also protecting his like ancestral family home. And like, that's what motivates him, is literally just poisoning it all with chemicals so that no one can have the land. Only he can have the land. It's kind of an it's an out there plot. It's over the top. It's absolutely ridiculous. But like you said, I mean, Hal Holbrook sells it. So there you go. And you also have someone, I mean, notorious pain in the ass to work with, and kind of, not psycho, but just sounded like a genuinely unpleasant person to be around. Randall Tex Cobb is in the film as well as Ben Dover. His character's never given a name. That's literally what he's referred to is as Ben Dover. But he's also great as the Nazi bike rider.
Yeah, he's kind of like the thug. He appears throughout the movie.
And he's great.
Yeah. No, everyone I like. The casting is just... I mean, maybe the casting, agents just realized, like, holy shit, we gotta do something to make this movie watchable.
Yeah, because if it didn't have Cleavon Little and Hal Holbrook and it were lesser actors, I think this would be even less regarded as a film. I mean, this film's not very well regarded. It's seen as kind of a poor follow-up to a comedy classic, and I wouldn't disagree. It is a poor follow-up to a film that is as strong as Fletch is. But again, to my point earlier, and to your point, they do enough to give you something interesting to watch, even though it kind of seems like they know the script was just complete garbage. Because it's not. It's just not good. The script for this film is not good. The story makes very little sense. And the twist that, Hal Holbrook is the villain, like you already mentioned, pretty telegraphed very early on.
I mean, that's like some Scooby-Doo shit.
Yeah, it really is. I would have gotten away with it, too, if it hadn't been for Fletch and his romantic interest in the film that also seems kind of ham-fisted and forced.
Yeah, and the way they tie things up at the end, I'm still not 100% sure on.
Well...
Like, is Jimmy Lee Farnsworth actually... Is he bad?
I don't know. See, yeah, I was wondering that when I was watching it today, too, because they mention at the beginning that someone is trying to buy his house, and then they mention that someone else is trying to buy his land from him for even more money. So who is trying to buy his property from him at what price? And is everyone who's trying to do that bad? And they never answer that. And they don't even seem like they care enough to answer it. Once Hal Holbrook's dead, they wrap everything up, turns out.
And the FBI is investigating.
Right, that's kind of the big twist.
But did they find anything?
I guess not. I guess his financial dealings led to them finding out about Ham Johnson, Hal Holbrook character. I mean, again, it's the film acts like it wraps everything up at the end. And it's like, you didn't wrap anything up.
I can understand why Fletch decided to go back to LA. Just get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I want to be leaving now.
I've overstayed my welcome. This movie's 90 minutes long. Send me back to the city.
Exactly. And then you have something like Harold Faltermeyer's score, which is in both films, and we have not talked about it at all, but it's amazing. But again, it's also Harold Faltermeyer, so...
I don't know much about the guy. Tell me.
He has scored some of the, I would say, the most iconic 80s films of all time, including creating Axel F., which has been, I mean, he's the creator of Axel F. from Beverly Hills Cop.
Holy shit, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you've never heard Axel F., I genuinely don't think you know that you haven't heard it, because it's that Crazy Frog song that kind of was invading everyone's eardrums in the late 90s, early 2000s. But, I mean, his score for this film is fantastic. In the first and second film, the first film obviously a little bit more. The first film has better music, because the first film feels more like an event. The music is tailored to the film. Fletch has a theme. And the second film is just a lot of, like, other music. Just random things that they decided to throw together.
Yeah.
Second film feels more cobbled together than the first one. And not in a good way.
That's the perfect way to describe it.
Yeah. I mean, even his character, like, the kind of saving graces are his character interactions with the original characters from the first film. Like George Weiner, who plays the lawyer, Richard Libertini, who plays his boss. Like, those interactions are welcome interactions. The stuff with Hal Holbrook is great.
I love him and Jeffrey Lewis. It's only like a minute long. You know, Jeffrey Lewis brings the Ku Klux Klan to, run him out, and Chevy Chase shows up, wearing obviously a pillowcase with a couple eye holes. He's like, "Oh, I was just over at the Rotary Club. They told me to come out here. What's going on?" And like, Jeffrey Lewis goes along with it.
From the California Claven Cucamonga. I mean, and then he starts screaming at them as they're driving off. They speak in some sort of astronomics. Like, that scene is one of the better scenes in the film. Like, without a doubt. I mean, I think that's probably my favorite scene in the entire movie. Other than the scene where Fletch plays the healer, and he's trying to, like, investigate Arlie Ermey's, like, financial dealings, and he ends up, like, getting in Arlie Ermey's character's ear because he's doing kind of a televangelist thing, and he has a guy show his asshole on live television. Because
they're supposed to be feeding Arlie Ermey, like, the actual backstory, so he can pretend that he's, getting visions from God about these people and their troubles and their sins. And the guy actually has hemorrhoids, but Chevy Chase tells Arlie Ermey that it's gambling problem.
You need to show everyone. Show them your problem. God damn it,
sure?
put your pants back on, T-Boo. I mean, it's great.
When he gets out there, too, and he's like, oh, I got the gift. Oh, yeah, so use your gift. Pick someone out of the audience. And he's like, I'm looking for Billy Bob, Billy Joe, or something. And it's like, 10 people stand up. Oh, between the ages of 25 and 27. That's more like it.
And I think one of the better lines that, again, it's like showing that kind of fish out of water story, which I'm not the biggest fan of fish out of water stories, but that's what the movie traffics in a lot of the time. They have the thing where it's like, what's your name? Oh, you don't have a middle name like everybody else. Everyone else around here seems to have one. Like that, you know. Yeah, like, you know, and I also personally find the back and forth between Cleavon Little and Chevy Chase is great because you're getting to see two of my favorite comedic actors go back and forth off of one another. And Cleavon Little's character in the movie, it's a problematic character. But once you realize that he's undercover and it's all like, if they had never addressed it as
he's
his character
hamming
was
up
undercover,
the stereotype. Exactly.
Like, and that's how I kind of say, okay, he's doing this because he has a motive to do it. This isn't Chevy Chase actually treating this character like he's stupid.
Even from the beginning, I feel like when you see him on screen, he knows that he's better than the material that he's given.
Oh, yeah.
And I agree. He's great. It's just kind of sad. Like, this is one of the better things that he got in this decade, or like more like bigger profile things that he got. It's like, imagine if they actually had kept Andrew Bergman, you know, man, I don't know how much they would have had to have paid him to come on to something like this, but, you know, someone that can actually write a character for him.
I mean, just imagine if they had Andrew Bergman write any of this. That's just, it feels like a missed opportunity because it is a missed opportunity. There's no question of that. And then, you know, to transition into something that is even more missed opportunities, you have essentially every single fucking Fletch movie that never got made from 89 forwards. From the release of Fletch Lives, you have Kevin Smith coming on and saying he wanted to do a movie, and it almost got off the ground, but Chase and Smith could never kind of figure it out. So Smith said, fuck you to Chevy Chase and said, I'm just going to do a prequel movie, which, by the way, Gregory Mcdonald wrote Fletch 1, which is the story about Fletch before the original book. And he said, well, fuck you, I'm just going to do my own thing. I'm going to cast my own Fletch. And they talked about Jason Lee. They talked about Ben Affleck. You fast forward a little bit, then you have people getting involved still with Kevin Smith in the early 2000s, with Brad Pitt or Jimmy Fallon possibly cast as Fletch. And then you have something in the late, the late aughts or the early aughts with Jason Sudeikis going to play the character. And now we finally have a Fletch reboot coming out, supposedly, whenever, they can get to production. And I can tell you, Cullen, with absolute certainty, I am not excited because I do not think that John Hamm is the person that I imagine in my head playing Fletch in the book, even if I don't imagine Chevy Chase as the character.
That's interesting.
Like, who do you imagine as Fletch if it's not Chevy Chase? It's almost like it's hard not to imagine Chevy Chase.
I mean, Burt Reynolds, but if it had been made 10 years earlier in the mid 70s, I think Burt was the guy. In terms of today, I mean, John Hamm can be good. Like, I'll give him a shot.
I think also my issue with John Hamm is, he as a person's not great because of what he did when he was in college. And if you want to go find out more about it, go look that up on your own time. But let's just say do you know what I'm talking about?
No, the only thing I know about John Hamm is he was on 30 Rock, and he was funny on that. I have not seen Mad Men, and I saw him in some feature film recently, and he was good, so I have zero idea what you're talking about, and I'm kind of scared.
It has to do with him and being part of a college fraternity and hazing someone with a broom handle.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, which, I mean, again, take that aside, he was funny in 30 Rock. That's the thing that I think of when I think of John Hamm, because similarly to you, I have never seen Mad Men. I have zero interest in watching it. It's 8 seasons long. I don't have time for that shit. And so I have friends. Jess has watched Mad Men. She loves it. So it's not like it doesn't come highly recommended. I just don't have the time for it. I can't get over John Hamm doing something to someone like that and then saying, he's downplayed it when asked about it in interviews. And I don't like people who don't take responsibility for their own actions. And that, to me, is exactly what he did when he was asked about hazing someone so badly that it scarred them for life. That he's done a very good job of not mentioning it at all for obvious fucking reasons. I mean, I wouldn't bring it up all the time either. But all of that aside, John Hamm is, I don't know how to explain it.
I don't see, part of what's so great about Chevy Chase is it just seems like a match made in heaven. Like when because I read the book before I saw the movie, and maybe it was the fact that I knew Chevy Chase was going to play this character, but like the rhythm of the words, the cadence, the phrasing, the attitude, I'm just like, this seems like, you need someone that's fast talking, that's got that like, repartee. And I was just like, Bert had it, Chevy Chase had it. You got to be smart alecky, and I mean, maybe John Hamm can do this. I mean, he's a talented actor, but that's just not what I think of when I think of him.
Here's the thing that I think about when I think of the character of Fletch, and I'm curious how you feel about this. The character of Fletch and the person who is Chevy Chase seems so intrinsically linked because that comedy style of Chevy Chase works so well with the smart alecky, smarmy, dry, sharp wit of the character from the book that it wasn't that hard to place one into the other, to place Chase into the role of Fletch. And like, that's who Chevy Chase just seems to be. He's gone on record saying that was his favorite film role. And that's when I think of John Hamm, I think of a rather attractive looking guy who's played complex characters in the past, but as a comedic actor, he doesn't strike me as having that intrinsic value that Chevy Chase brought to the role, because that's just who Chevy Chase is. Maybe it'll be fine. I just, again, look, it's a reboot on top of everything else. Do we really need another reboot?
No, I'm watching the Perry Mason thing on HBO right now, and
people couldn't go watch Raymond Burr doing Perry Mason and that wasn't enough?
I mean, apparently not, but also to go back to one of your points, there's already a bunch of Gregory Mcdonald, Fletch books. Why did they need to have someone else come up with Fletch Lives? There are how many Perry Mason novels written by Earl Stanley Gardner? I think there are 31 of the Cool and Lamb books that have barely been adapted. I think there's like a TV show that was only a pilot. He has many other series. Have you seen the new Perry Mason?
I haven't, but I was talking to you off podcast, my parents watched it and they were taken aback by it, but I mean, also they love the original Raymond Burr show and the TV movies that they subsequently did in the 80s. So I'm not sure they knew what to expect, and I don't know who the audience was for the show because I never heard anyone talk about it. You're actually the first person other than my parents that I've heard talk about the show, and that for me doesn't fare well for a show that's on a TV station, a cable station like HBO. I mean, HBO shows tend to have, even if they're not, Game of Thrones or The Sopranos, they still tend to have some play in mainstream. And I never heard anyone say anything about Perry Mason other than it's on the air and it's off the air.
What's weird about the show is, it doesn't have Chevy Chase, Steven Seagal, or Burt Reynolds, so I don't know why I'm watching it. But
you really painted yourself into a corner.
The cast is fabulous, like great actors, and there's a lot of money in the costumes and the sets.
It's nice looking. It looks nice.
Yeah, Tim Van Patten, who directed The Sopranos, is directing these. It just kind of also like Fletch Lives. This doesn't feel like Perry Mason, and it just feels kind of generic, like 30s Private Detective. And it would be, if that's what it was, if it didn't have the Perry Mason name, I might think of it differently. And I just keep watching and I'm like, man, like the story just isn't drawing me in. Like, I guess it doesn't feel like it's gotten to any rhythms to explaining like why does this need to be here. But again, it's great cast. John Lithgow's in it. Like, always a pleasure to watch him.
Well, and the lead actor is from The Americans, right? I mean,
which I still haven't seen.
I haven't seen it either, but I know that it's also well regarded. So, I mean, I think to your point regarding the new Fletch film or any of the Fletch subsequent films that have come out, the thing that drew me to the character of Fletch is Chevy Chase's portrayal and his cool detachment and kind of smug asshole character. Like, if the Fletch film that comes out that's a reboot is just John Hamm doing his best Chevy Chase impersonation, why do I care? And with the Perry Mason show, why do I care about an origin story to a character who doesn't need one? Like, you gotta justify this thing's existence other than a cash grab. And the Fletch movies that have, never happened, these supposed Fletch films, I mean, you have, again, Kevin Smith being attached forever, which I don't know what that would have looked like. Who knows? I mean, then you had the creator of Scrubs casting Zach Braff as Fletch, which I think could have worked. I mean, I think that there were a lot of positives to even someone like Jason Lee as Fletch.
Wasn't Ryan Reynolds also attached?
I see. I had never heard Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds would make a lot of sense because Ryan Reynolds has that that smarminess. Even someone who I thought maybe could have done it when he was doing a film like Thank You for Smoking, Aaron Eckhart could have worked as well. I mean, that's the thing, like we've already talked about with the original Fletch, the source material is one way, the movie is another. It references the source material enough, but not completely, and lets whoever's in the role do their own thing. If the Fletch movie that has anyone in it gives them the opportunity to do their own thing with it, that's great. The thing is, Chevy Chase, just his own thing was so close to Fletch, it wasn't like they were having to learn a new language to do it. The problem that I have with a lot of these other kind of Fletch movies that never happened, or the upcoming one, is I don't see those people as having that inherent charisma. They're just going to be play acting, and they're going to be acting and trying to put on that veneer of Fletch, as opposed to it just kind of being intrinsically who they kind of are anyways.
I wonder if Fletch would have worked as sort of a Rockford Files type of series.
I'm kind of surprised it didn't end up just coming back as a TV show.
Because I could see, the Chevy Chase character, coming, week after week, or for like TV movies. Like, it felt like they had established a world, and they could have just kept going back to it in LA. They wouldn't have had to move it around the country. I wonder if that would have been a smarter, move.
I think it would have. I mean, I think that now that you mention it, I mean, what precluded them from doing a TV show? I mean, especially in the golden age of in the second or third golden age that we're in now, why try to make a movie? Isn't television where you want to be from like a creator and actor standpoint? You have a constant stream of income. You're given a lot more time to let the story and characters breathe. I mean, maybe the issue is trying to fill 8 hours with, smarmy, smug dialogue is harder than it sounds, which is probably the case.
You know what I would love? I wish they would go back, to doing like just hour-long episodes. Whole story.
You mean like Rockford Files and Perry Mason?
Yeah. Just kind of like standalone stuff like that. Like, I think that's really hard to do.
Yeah, everything kind of has like a mythos or a mythology now, and like a story arc that lasts the whole season. Stuff like CSI and stuff do that, but like there's not like a detective show anymore in the vein of Rockford Files or Matlock or Perry Mason. Like that's kind of dead, unfortunately, which is like odd.
Like the early season, I think like season 1 of Justified had a little bit more standalone-ish. I think the subsequent seasons, which I loved, definitely have like this, season story. I'm watching Longmire now, and I feel like the first season was a little bit more standalone episode, and now that I'm in season 3, it's starting to feel much more of like a season-long arc, and I don't like it as much. I think it worked better when it was just introduce a problem, have Longmire solve it.
Well, it also allows you to see more characters, more interesting, different characters, as opposed to the main character interacting with the same supporting characters over and over again. You know, and you would have thought with something like Fletch Lives, him going to a fish out of water scenario and him interacting with these completely different, culturally wise characters than him would make for interesting film. And it kind of does, but they kind of miss the mark. And I hope that whoever and whatever film we get, if we ever get a Fletch reboot, again, people have been saying for 30 plus years that another Fletch film is coming, and it still hasn't. Yes, they announced that they're making one, but again, they've announced that they're making one multiple times in the past. I hope even, and I don't know how you feel about this, Cullen, maybe the right answer is to pivot and go back towards the book, not farther away from it, and do more of what the book does and less of what the original two movies do.
I mean, that's always a good idea. Go back to the source material and see what they were going.
Because, I mean, again, if you don't have the comedic chops or the comedic smugness that Chevy Chase just inherently has as an actor, don't try to compete with the original source material. Or with the original film, just try to do what the source material did. Give it a little bit more of a noir feel, a little bit more sun-washed, 70s, 75, 80s. I know that the film that they're supposedly making is going to be a movie based on Confess Fletch, which would make it also a sequel, but so it's a reboot where they focus on the second book, not the first one.
Interesting. One of the things I read in an interview with Mcdonald today, it was him talking to Bruce DeSilva, and he was saying, Mcdonald was saying that one of the things he liked about Fletch and was trying to do was have him sort of, in his own way, sort of tear down sort of institutions. I mean, you sort of mentioned that earlier where he's, all the people he comes up against, he's always trying to undermine them because they're all fucking with him. They're all trying to take advantage of him and lie to him. So he just gives them what they're giving him back, and he's just better at it. So it'd be interesting to see if they sort of, took that sort of critical angle, that sort of aspect of, this is, almost sort of like countercultural anti-hero approach to Fletch.
And I think that would be the right way to go with the character. And again, don't give us something we've already seen. Don't fan service us into the ground. Give us a new movie, a new Fletch that can stand on its own as your interpretation of the character from the book. Don't try to interpret Chevy Chase's character from the film for your 2021 film. Do a reinterpretation, a reimagining of the character from the book. Frankly, and you know what, and this is something that I'm not the biggest fan of, I honestly think, and I'm kind of surprised, that the answer for making a Fletch film was not to just make Fletch a female character. I'm honestly surprised no one ever did that.
I thought that they were considering doing that with Ellen DeGeneres. She was in consideration at one point.
But that would be an interesting take on the character. And again, I'm not a huge fan of, gender swapping and calling it good. But genuinely, a female version of Fletch, a female actress an actress taking that role of Fletch and doing something with it could be interesting. Yeah.
It could totally be done.
And that would be an interesting take on the character that, again, feels different enough from the original film, but kind of sticks close to the source material in a way. And again, there aren't enough female characters in cinema like what a female Fletch could be. And I think that could be really interesting with the right writer, with the right director, and with the right actress cast in the role of Fletch.
I guess if there's anything that we learned from the first movie is get a good writer.
Yeah, right. That's, yes.
Good director too. Then again, isn't that just basic intelligence? Make sure you have a good writer and director for your movie.
I was going to say, we've cracked the code of filmmaking. Have a good director and screenwriter. We're solving the problems here on the Kulturecast.
Man, why didn't people think of that before?
I know, right? Now they should be paying us zillions of dollars. We solved the problem for everyone. Cullen, what would you give Fletch the first film out of 5.
Yeah, like 4.5. Pretty fucking funny.
I'm going to abstain because, I mean, it's a 5, so no shit. But, like, I'm going to abstain because it should be obvious it's a 5. But I'm glad you liked it. Not that I was too worried, because, I mean, again, it's kind of in your wheelhouse, so...
I'm just ashamed it took me this long.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. I'm shocked it took you this long to watch it, frankly.
I have no excuse. Like, I loved Chevy Chase when I was a kid. How many times did I rent his movies, from the video store, catch them on TV and tape them? Like, somehow I missed this. I remember being in the late Partners in Crime, which is a dearly departed bookstore from New York that specialized in crime fiction, and Kiz Reeves, one of the owners, walked me over to the Gregory Mcdonald section and showed me Fletch. I bought almost every book she ever put in front of me. I wonder why. You know what? Maybe the reason I didn't get Fletch is it was sold out.
Sounds about right. That could be it.
Because a lot of times she showed me series, and, things would be out of stock. Things would go weirdly out of print for, like, a short period of time. That's kind of the only reason I can think of. Then again, why didn't I go on, online or something? It's clearly not out of print now. But, yeah, again, just total shame. You can feel free to shame me anytime.
I'm not going to shame you. You've seen it now and you liked it. So that's the thing. I don't know how someone like yourself with the background that you have could not have liked this movie. And again, I was kind of shocked that you hadn't seen it. But hey, sometimes things just cinematically slip through the cracks. So I'm glad you've seen it now.
I am too. Thank you.
So on that note, let's take a break and we'll play a preview for the next episode of the Kulturecast.
It began as a routine assignment.
Transylvania.
Where is that?
I don't know. It's over there someplace.
But beneath the surface
Transylvania's cute.
of this happy land, terrible secrets lurk in the shadows.
I'm terribly sorry. We thought you were an animal.
He is.
They are the creatures of the night.
Shut up, you lowlife!
I am low. I'm low.
The curse of the undead.
Tell me you want me to.
The terror of the full moon.
Oh yeah, I'm going into town.
And the monster that science created.
Full House.
Jeff Goldblum. Ed Begley Jr.
Hi, ladies.
For a good time, call
Transylvania 65000.
It's good, huh?
That's right, on the next episode of the Kulturecast, we are going to be talking about another Geena Davis film, not a Chevy Chase film. We're going to be talking about Transylvania 65000. It stars Jeff Goldblum, Ed Begley Jr., and Geena Davis. I've actually never seen it. It's one of the 2 films this month I have not seen. So Father Malone did do his job this month. It is one of the 2 films I have not seen. I am looking forward to watching it. Until then, what have you been up to, Cullen?
I have been trying to get Pulp Serenade back off the ground and keep it going. I started it back in 2008, and by 2012 it was not that active. And just back in July I decided to, get it off the ground. So I've been trying to, do a little bit of work every day, building up a backlog of content. I don't post every day. I try to do maybe 3 or 4 times a week. And it now has a new URL, pulp-serenade.com, because some bot wound up buying my other URL when it lapsed because of an error in Google. So
thanks, domain assholes.
But yeah, so that's just, doing a lot of reading. Reading right now the Ray Bradbury's crime stories that Hard Case Crime just put out, which is fabulous. Trying to do a balance of newer crime novels. Got a backlog of movies I kind of want to get through. And then reading tons of old paperback originals. I've been doing a lot of Day Keane, who I adore. And there might be a Pulp Serenade podcast coming, maybe, perhaps.
Oh, wow. Throwing yourself into the ring with the rest of us yahoos, huh?
I guess now that I said it, I kind of have to. And it's kind of why I said it. I wrote a theme song for it.
Are you going to read any more Gregory Mcdonald books?
Oh, yeah. I'd like to check out the other Fletch books. I want to read Flynn.
Flynn's interesting. He's a very different character, and he's actually introduced in Confess Fletch as kind of the counterpoint to Fletch's character, which I always think is a really cool way of introducing your second character you're going to write about, having them come face to face with kind of the character that you're known for as a writer. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I wonder whether he knew that Flynn was going to be a serious character, whether he was just someone he wrote about and happened to like.
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely seems like he's a more fleshed out character than the other characters Fletch runs into, in at least Confess Fletch. The other thing about the Fletch series is it's kind of like Dune in that there is a order that the books were released in, but that's not the chronological order that you should read the books in, if that makes sense. So it's kind of weird. So just a heads up for Fletch, if you're going to read Fletch, which any one of you totally should, it's also on Audible in its entirety. Fletch and its series has a weird chronological order that they mention on Wikipedia and other sites, so check that out if you're looking to read the Fletch books. As for me, you can follow me on Twitter at casualty_Chris. I'm also on Instagram at Papa Stash. You can follow the podcast on the internet at Kulturecast.com. We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/Kulturecast. We just put out our most recent Patreon-only exclusive episode about 1978's Dawn, so a little bit of Bollywood. We're going to be doing a Patreon exclusive this month, so all it takes is $1 and you get access to all the Patreon exclusive content. So there's that as well. Big thanks to you, Cullen, for joining me and finally watching Fletch, so there's that.
Thank you for having me and Father Malone for picking Fletch.
And as always, make sure to check out the next episode.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.